You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Wednesday, May 5th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, Star Trek Discovery's costuming team, led by Gersha Phillips, takes home 3 awards. Yours truly makes a bit of a boo-boo, and we've got some space travel-themed Star Trek history. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month of counseling by visiting betterhelp.com/DSTN. Okay, so today is going to be an interesting day of daily Star Trek news, and you're getting a behind-the-scenes look at how things work around here. Now, as you probably know, I've been recruiting for a new writer, and this has been a trial week for him, seeing what it's like working side by side with our other writer, Chris, to help me bring you the daily Star Trek news. It's a trial week for me too, and I managed to screw it up by assigning the same story to both writers. But in true Star Trek fashion, we're not going to just write a new story. No, we're going to do the same story twice with more lens flare. Now, who knows if it'll work, but it will be a ride, and stay tuned for a cameo from Benedict Cumberbatch. There's not going to be a cameo from Benedict Cumberbatch. Let's see what happens. Right, so first up, the costume team at Star Trek Discovery has reason to celebrate this week. The team was honored last weekend with not 1, but 3 CAFT-CAD awards, including the overall win for costume design. News of their accomplishment was published by the Canadian Press and republished by the Toronto Star. The Canadian Alliance of Film and Television Costume Arts and Design, or CAFT-CAD, is a collection of professionals from across the costume industry in Canada, promoting and celebrating Canadian costume arts and design, and its contribution to the international world of film and television. According to the CAFT-CAD website, the annual awards event recognizes the breadth of talent, the scope of contemporary, period, and fantasy elements, differing media platforms, formats, and budgets that exist within Canadian film and media costume design and arts. That's where Star Trek Discovery comes in. Discovery was the top performer at this year's CAFT-CAD Awards, which were held virtually. The costume team picked up 6 nominations across 5 categories, winning 3 of those awards. Lead designer Gersha Phillips and the team took home the overall award for costume design in television in the science fiction and fantasy genre for the 3rd season premiere episode That Hope Is You, Part 1. It was a well-earned win with fellow nominees including heavy hitters like the Netflix series Altered Carbon, TNT's Snowpiercer, Amazon's The Expanse, and Odd Squad from TVO. The Discovery costume team also received the Excellence in Crafts Award for costume building for their work in That Hope Is You Part 1, and finally they took home the Excellence in Crafts Award for special effects costume building for the Season 3 episode People of Earth. To see the 2021 awards ceremony for yourself, visit the CAFT-CAD channel on YouTube. Remember, you can always check out the hard work of the Discovery costuming team for yourself. All 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery are available to stream now on Paramount+. Okay, so for those of you watching on YouTube, here comes the lens flare, and for those of you listening on the podcast, you're just going to have to trust me that it's there. Congratulations are in order to Star Trek Discovery costume designer Gersha Phillips and her team, who took home the trophy for Best Costume Design for Sci-Fi and Fantasy Television at this past weekend's Canadian Alliance of Film and Television Costume Arts and Design Awards, or CAFT-CAD. Phillips shared the win via Instagram on Monday and added, "Thank you to my incredible team and the entire Star Trek family. We stepped into the year 3188 boldly and created some of the best futuristic costumes out there." A story shared by Canadian news site timescolonist.com also reported that Phillips and her Discovery team took home 2 additional CAFT-CAD awards a crafts prize for costume building, and sharing a tie for Best Special Effects Costumes. Phillips has previously been recognized for her work on Discovery with nominations in the category of Excellence in Sci-Fi and Fantasy Television from the Costume Designers Guild in both 2018 and 2019. Prior to her work on Star Trek, Gersha Phillips served as costume designer for TV shows such as House of Cards and the Steven Spielberg-produced Falling Skies, along with feature films including My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 and Are We There Yet?, which featured Nichelle Nichols in a supporting role. Please join Daily Star Trek News in offering congratulations to Gersha Phillips and her team on their wins. And I think, are we good with the lens flare? I thought about going with a mirror universe thing, but all I could find was this black cloth, and it doesn't really work that well as a goatee. So, all right. Now, in just a moment, I'll be taking you back in time to find out what happened this week in Star Trek history, but first, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. So, as we've learned today, change can be a little bit hard. Not all of us are great at managing life changes on our own, especially when they don't quite go the way we want. Which is why if you're facing a big change, you might want to seek the advice of a counselor. Now, you have a lot of choices, but one service that you should consider is BetterHelp, and here's why. Their specialized counselors can help you concentrate on the help that you need. They can help you with stress, depression, self-esteem issues, and more. But they're also focused on making a great match, which means that it's free and easy to change counselors if you don't feel it's working. BetterHelp also lets you seek counseling on your own terms with web and mobile apps, and the option to meet over the phone or on video. It's available worldwide, and it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling. I want you to start living a happier life today. And as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month of counseling by visiting betterhelp.com/DSTN. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's betterhelp, HELP.com/DSTN. And now, let's take a little look back into Star Trek history. It was today, May 5th, back in 1961, that astronaut Alan Shepard made history as the second person and the first American to go to outer space. Shepard, a World War II veteran and test pilot, commanded the Mercury Redstone 3 flight, a mission that lasted a little over 15 minutes, and was the first craft in space to be manually controlled. 10 years later, Shepard returned to space, becoming the 5th person to walk on the moon, and the only one to hit golf balls there. So what does this have to do with Star Trek, you may ask? Besides being a pioneer in space, Alan Shepard actually appeared in 96 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise, having been featured in the opening credits of the show. It was a long road getting from there to here. Please join me in wishing a happy 60th anniversary to NASA and remembering Alan Shepard and his contributions to traveling to the final frontier. Now, this is normally the part of the show where I say to tune in next week for more Star Trek history, but I actually have something really special planned for next Wednesday, so history is going to be on Tuesday instead. It's a double whammy of trivia and history. How about that? Oh, and be sure to tune in next Wednesday for that little something special. Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and written by Chris Peterson and Jack Brown, with history by Joshua Eves. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month of counseling by visiting betterhelp.com/DSTN. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and the weekend's Star Trek events. I'm Alison Pitt. We made it. Live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.